Hello and welcome to Two Across, the podcast where two friends sitting on opposite sides of the Atlantic sit down and catch up over a crossword. I'm Rob Cole, sitting in Montreal, Quebec, Canada.
And I'm Theo Bozaget in London.
Hello, Theo.
Hello, Rob. In our slightly delayed start to podcasting today, but let's not draw attention to our technical issues.
No. If I start off somewhat crusty today, it's having spent 25 minutes battling the audio goblins and coming out no better off than I was before. So, yeah. But I wanted to start off, as we've decided to do this season, with a little bit of a report back on some of the issues that we raised in the last podcast, some of the questions that we had that we weren't able to answer in the podcast. So I have
Good plan.
About three, if you will indulge me. So the first was on lederhosen, which was a clue in last week's episode. Lederhosen and the origin thereof, which we were wondering about, apparently largely in Bavaria and the Austrian Alps, and it started dying out in the late 19th century in the fringes of its mountain redoubt, where lederhosen found its fullest flourishing and greatest expression. And apparently in the late 19th century, there were cultural preservation societies that would spring up to preserve, amongst other things, the lederhosen, which was a treasured tradition. But it is still a dress, but more common in the mountains than in the fringes, where it became sort of more of an anachronism.
Interesting. I do associate it with goat herding and that sort of pursuit. So yeah, mountainous regions. But again, doesn't really answer our question last week about just the sort of practicality of the garment and why it's designed as such, because I don't think it really has a comparable thing anywhere else in the world.
No. And it might be materials at hand. You know, cow herders had leather.
Sure. Yeah.
Something along those lines. So the next thing, which is I have more definitive information on, I have to admit, lederhosen got a bit murky, and the research I did started leading me in all kinds of very didactic directions that I chose to ignore.
I bet it did. Yeah.
The origin of the rook in chess, Theo.
Okay.
So as we know, being aficionados of chess, the game in its modern form is at least 1,500 years old. It came from India, and it was called chaturanga. And for fans of yoga, you will note that in yoga poses such as the chaturanga dandasana, which is also known as downward facing dog. But apparently chaturanga in India means 4 divisions. And there were 4 divisions of the military in traditional Indian military of the era, those being some familiar and some not so much to us today. So there was the infantry, the cavalry, the elephantry, and the chariotry. So those were the 4 divisions. So you can think of them probably as like, the infantry and then the mechanized divisions. Elephantry, I guess, would be sort of large mechanized and howitzers and such. But the chariotry, my friend, is whence comes the term the rook, because the chariot and the rook was actually in older forms of chess was a chariot, because the Persian word, and the Persians took chess and adapted it, for a chariot is if I'm not mistaken, something like a ruka.
Wow.
Hence the name of the rook. So the castle as we know it today was once a chariot and draws its name from the Persian name for chariot. So there you go.
That is some deeply impressive research, Rob. It doesn't quite answer for me why we shape it like a castle rather than a chariot, because a chariot would be great on a chessboard. And also it does move like a chariot, doesn't it? Sort of straight lines and
that's true.
Forward momentum and all of that. So, yeah.
Well, something for our listeners to look into.
Something to mull. And just incidentally, you said we are chess aficionados. I mean, clearly that is not the case, because I didn't even know that the rook was the castle. So, yeah.
And myself neither. I gave up chess sometime around 5th or 6th grade when I realized that I hated losing chess, and it made me really mad. So I stopped playing.
That's why I gave up most sports, to be fair. If you can call chess a sport, I'm not sure you can. Anyway, moving on.
So, Theo, I wanted to circle back on one thing, and I think there's 2 things we want to touch. But one was just, I saw the doghouse and the episode that you were on. So sure. I wanted to give my compliments, and to viewers who haven't seen it, The Doghouse is a show on Channel 4, which you can watch on the Channel 4 player in the UK. And otherwise, you can do like I did and have a VPN and watch it that way. And it was absolutely lovely. Theo and his daughter are, real stars of that particular episode.
God
And
bless you, Rob.
and the moment where you guys first see Zeus, and there's this big reveal. So for listeners, there's this moment where Theo and his daughter are sitting inside of the green room waiting, and then the door opens and this lovely little Shih Tzu comes prancing in with his sort of feathery tail, and the look on their faces, it's absolutely, yeah.
Did you notice he also made the opening credits? He is the dog that closes the opening credits, which I think is high praise. Yeah, it's pertinent you mentioned the doghouse because I was slightly miffed in the last episode about how I hadn't suddenly found myself famous on the back of appearing on this Channel 4 series. But actually this morning on the school run, we were spotted by a stranger who, it must be said, falls squarely into the demographic that I've suspected is the core audience of the Doghouse. She was a lady in her advanced years, but it was quite sweet. She came up and said, "The Doghouse." She just said like that. She just went, "The Doghouse." I was just watching that 2 days ago, and here you are. So I was very pleased to make that lady's day. I don't know if I did make her day, but she seemed enthusiastic about it, and yeah, it was nice.
Oh, most definitely. So I didn't know my older sister is a firm fan of the Doghouse. She lives in Geneva and she watches it on Channel 4. And she was delighted to watch an episode with you on it because she's a big listener of the podcast. So she's like, oh my gosh, I get to finally see what this guy looks like. And he looks as lovely on the screen as he sounds on the podcast. So that was her compliment for you, Theo.
Oh, stop. They were very kind, as I said, they were very kind to us in the edit because there was a lot of material there that could no doubt have painted us in quite a different light. But yeah, it was a very warm portrayal. And actually it's one of those few shows involving members of the general public that doesn't make them look like complete idiots. Most of those sorts of television shows you think, oh, I wouldn't touch with a barge pole because they're kind of out to trip you up a little bit, make you look a bit stupid, get people shouting at the television. But it very much is not one of those. It's very warm. It's just a sort of an all-round lovely experience. So it was probably the only show that I would go anywhere near. But yeah, I was really grateful to them for how it came out, and thank you for taking the time to watch it. There were a couple of other very moving stories in our episode, I have to say. I mean, we were definitely the light relief, I think, by comparison. But again, I was glad of that because I'd obviously watched the show in advance of going on it. And I was aware that they often tell quite personal stories. And I said to my daughter, I said, look, we're not a sob story. We're not here to try and share a tale of woe or whatever. We just want a dog, really, ultimately. Yeah. But it was nice the way they still managed to kind of find the heart of it, and obviously her relationship with the dog and that thing of the sort of transience of childhood and all of that was really nice. And we're really glad to have that as a little time capsule of her at that age. So yeah,
a little vignette. And I think the delight is the thing that really comes through. And there's a lot of challenging stories, and dogs obviously bring a lot to people's lives, but just having a tale of the delight of a little girl finding her dog was, it was great. So
lovely.
Theo,
right.
And your other adventures, and before we get into the crossword, give us a quick rundown of Germany, of seeing this play in German of your grandmother's, and give us a bit of background on your grandma, just quick for listeners.
So in a nutshell, and if anyone wants to read more about this, I have written an article for the Stage newspaper over here, which is going to be published next week, I think, as this podcast goes out. Yes, it'll be the week after the podcast goes out.
We'll drop it in the show notes.
We'll drop it in the show notes when it does go live. Anyway, the background is my great-grandmother was an Austrian playwright whose work was banned by the Nazis because she was Jewish. And after she came to England, she continued to write. And among her papers, my mum found a couple of years ago the copy of a play, which was written in English, and it's called The End of a Trial. And she gave it to Thomas, who is my great-grandmother's kind of agent, I guess, in Germany. He read it and liked it and gave it to another writer, and she really liked it and took on a translation of it. So it's been translated into German and produced by this theatre company in Meiningen, which is in the kind of center of Germany. And it's quite a small town. It's only about 25,000 population, but has this amazing theatre in the middle of it. I mean, it would put most sort of West End Broadway playhouses to shame. It's a really impressive, grand theatre, and the ensemble who are based there have opened their new season with my great grandmother's play, which is just incredible, and we went to the press opening and we sat there, and I just found it so overwhelming that the idea that a play she'd written 80 years ago had sat in a drawer completely unseen was now filling a theatre of 800 people. And it was a brilliant production, really well done. Obviously, it was in German, which sadly I don't speak, but I had read the play in English, so I knew the kind of plot points. And it was brilliant, and they did a great job. And then we got to meet them afterwards, and I think it meant a lot to them that her kind of descendants had made the journey over. I went with several of my family members, including my mum, who, as I said, found the manuscript. And as part of the trip, we also went to the National Library in Frankfurt, which has her archive. And we looked through her papers, but then we also had a tour of the archive more widely, and particularly the section concerned with exile literature. And it was just so moving. At one point, there's this row of suitcases just in a vault under the library, these huge kind of library vaults. There's a row of suitcases, and they're suitcases that belonged to Jewish refugees. And in many cases, that would have been the only item they had in their possession when they fled the country. And these cases have been donated to the National Library because they're sort of trying to piece their stories together. And I say this in the article, but really it just reminded me how lucky we are that we still have an archive of my great grandmother's work, and that her plays can still be staged because those scripts exist. And in so many cases, all of the records of people's lives got totally destroyed and lost. And I found that very moving. And just to kind of round it off, the politics in Germany and in Austria are obviously currently they're moving right. And Meiningen itself is in Thuringia, which is one of the two regions that recently voted in the AfD. So you were very conscious all the while. And I hadn't quite appreciated the politics of kind of East and West Germany, and the way that division is still heavily felt. And in Thuringia, which is just within the boundaries of former East Germany, they voted in the AfD. And there is this feeling that the wheel is turning again. And especially with the recent result in Austria, it just all feels suddenly so much more pertinent and important. And the fact that this theatre company is staging a play by, a playwright who was banned by the Nazis just had that extra edge of topicality.
Yeah. And significance.
Yeah, sorry. That was probably quite a long-winded way of summing up the tour, but there was so much to get into. And at some point I might talk a little bit more about it, because I mean there were lighter moments along the way as well, such as when I attempted to order 2 coffees in German at a station, and the lady behind the counter literally laughed in my face. She just lost it. She was literally bent double. She was laughing so much at my appalling attempt to speak German. So that was quite funny. And also it turns out all the old cliches about German efficiency and the trains running on time are complete nonsense. They're absolutely awful.
Apparently, when I was in Germany, my friend who organized the trip, his aunt lives in Germany, and she said that the Swiss trains have sort of decoupled their schedule from the German one because they can no longer rely on the German trains to be on time and meet their efficiency requirements, which I found quite damning.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's go to the crossword.
Let's go to the crossword, because crossing words is fun.
So we are doing Guardian crossword 16,975, which for new listeners you can find on the Guardian app or via the internet. If you go and you Google Guardian Quick Crossword, look for number 16,975. We do this in 1/2 of an hour. Theo will be timing us. We have not done this crossword ahead of time, and we see how we can go. So this is season 2, episode 2, and we are 1-0 on the season. So we're hoping to keep our clean sheet into today's crossword. So Theo, do you want to crank us off on a clue and get us going?
Yeah. Okay. Should we go straight in for number 1 because it's calling to me? Partly because it's 12 letters. This is one across, but also because the clue is Desperate Dan or Mickey Mouse, say. And of those two, I have by far the fondest associations with Desperate Dan because I was a subscriber to the Dandy in my youth.
Yes.
A fine comic about Dan who eats cow pies and gets up to mischief. Or rather, doesn't really get up to mischief, kind of stops other people getting up to mischief. He's a bit of a killjoy, really.
Yeah, he is, isn't he?
Bless him. But do we have any clues? Because it's 12 letters.
Oh, I mean, what do they have in common? They're cartoon characters.
I mean, what the heck?
Mickey Mouse is an anthropomorphization, but I don't think that...
But Dan's not. Dan's a cowboy, I believe, or some sort of police sheriff.
He's just a man. Should we potentially look at some of the downs to see if we can...
Could it be something like cartoonifications or, I don't know.
Too long.
Okay, we'll come back to it. I think that's within our grasp. We just need to maybe get some of the downs.
Yep, I agree. 4 down. Drink at Christmas. 6 letters.
That sounds like an instruction.
Yes.
Which I'm very happy to comply with.
All too happy to do, yeah.
Is it eggnog?
I think it would be eggnog. Do people drink eggnog in the UK, or is it an American thing?
It is an American thing, but we do have it here, although not especially. It's not especially widespread. You're most likely to encounter it in sort of Starbucks, like an eggnog latte.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, rather than people actually making it. But
a vehicle for sugar.
Also, my wife is allergic to raw egg, so it's definitely not a drink for her.
Not a tipple in the Bosanquet household.
Indeed not, no.
So 10 across, just for fun, because I think we can get this one, is a large sailing ship used for trade and warfare, starting with the letter G and 7 letters long. And I think we're sort of looking into antiquity, or not maybe antiquity, but, a couple of 100 years back.
So these things are normally wrecks at the bottom of the ocean.
These days, yeah.
Galleons.
A galleon. It's a good word. A gallant ship.
Yeah. It is a good word, actually. It has a grandiosity that
it does.
Just ship does not.
But you imagine just sets of white sails billowing in the wind and a standard on the top, a nice long, thin flag that's flying and gaily atop the mast.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You do paint a picture, Rob.
I'm doing my best.
12 down. Vague. 12 letters. Third letter N. Vague. Oh, it's going to be non-specific or something like that, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Non-specific doesn't fit, but I can get us a letter of it by looking at 12 across, which is Lou or Elvis, 8 letters, second letter O.
Is this 12 across?
12 across.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
No, I haven't got it. It's not Colonel, is it?
Because no, it's Costello.
Oh, Sorry. Obviously. Yes. Okay. Lou Costello. I'm not very familiar with Lou Costello. Maybe a silent film star or something like that? Like a clown type figure?
Yes, it's quite possible. So there we go. We've got some research for the next episode. Lou Costello. But we do know Elvis, and it does fit. So
yeah, well done. Yeah. I was just so wedded to Presley there.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Very unpatriotically, it must be said.
Well, he was the king.
He was. I saw a great clip online recently, actually. You should look it up, of Elvis singing with Frank Sinatra. And they're singing each other's songs and having sort of a bit of fun with it. And it's really, it's good. You sort of forget these figures often because they become sort of too famous, I think, that they get stripped of any real or almost any meaning. and just seeing them kind of riffing away, you thought, yeah, they were ultimately at their core just really amazing vocalists.
Yeah. It's like the duet in some 80s variety show between Bing Crosby and David Bowie singing The Little Drummer Boy, notably.
Exactly. That's a very, very good reference point, actually. Also, I haven't seen that, so I should.
I think we have to banish Christmas from the rest of this episode because we're only in October.
Yeah, we do. And also, we've only got 3 clues, and
all right,
we're 24 minutes left, so we need to motor.
Two clues. A clue every 2 minutes is not going to get us where we need to get. Agitated, 5 down, 8 letters long, 3rd letter L, 5th letter T. Agitated.
Oh no, nothing coming.
Not to me either.
What about 6 down? Perfect. 5 letters, 3rd letter E, final letter L.
It could also be perfect on the off chance. If we were to take a colloquialism, which is probably more American than it's British, it could be swell. But
yeah,
it's not
I don't
great.
think that would be the clue if it was swell.
No, okay.
Oh man, no. My brain's feeling a bit foggy. Maybe it's all that German beer, but I'm not feeling top of my game today.
These aren't easy though. I think what we need to do is just find an area that works that we can build out from. So let's just keep moving around. Okay. What about 15 across? This will make a balloon go up.
Oh yeah, okay. We can get that, I think.
Hopefully. It depends.
Helium?
That's what I was thinking. Just to check that would make 16 down a breathing aid would be 7 down. And if it were at helium, it would start with I, a breathing aid. Iron lung doesn't fit.
Yeah. Oh,
and
I should know this with.
Because don't you intubate people when they have trouble breathing?
You do. Doesn't fit though.
No.
Oh, inhaler. I use one of those as a asthmatic.
Are you an asthmatic?
I am an asthmatic, but a fairly mild one.
My wife is asthmatic, but also these days fairly mild.
I had a PE teacher who didn't believe asthma was real. So I want, this is only back in the sort of 90s. I mean, this isn't that long ago. But anyway, he refused to believe it was real. And he tested me out one day. So I had an asthma attack during a PE lesson. And he basically just left me to it. He said, come on, sort it out. Get up. It's all rubbish. Until eventually, I think the school nurse had to step in and say, no, I think it is real, and administered some Ventolin.
I think this boy may be suffocating.
Yeah, I know.
But those were the days, Theo. We got on with things,
Going back to our theme of resilience, Rob.
Yeah.
Did it do me any harm? Well, slightly, but I live to tell the tale.
Exactly.
And, I think you probably get struck off these days. For that
I think you might get fired for that.
Yeah. Right. Oh, close together. 20 across. 4 letters. 2nd letter T. Close together.
Yeah, either one. Like close together. 2nd letter H, 4 letters. Probably starts with either a C, an H, or a T, right?
Yeah. So, no, not coming.
No, I don't see it. Okay. Middle Eastern sweet made with ground sesame seeds. 23 across, 5 letters long. L being the middle letter. Oh man, we're really struggling here, my friend.
Middle Eastern sweet.
A challah?
Well,
that's a type of bread, isn't it?
Yeah. I think we need the first letter on that, for which we will need to get 21 down, which is informal discussion. 4 letters. Could that be a chat?
Well, that's what I thought, and I did see that, and that's why I was going with the challah.
I think that's as good a guess as any.
Theo! Good times. Good times indeed. It's our first anagram of the season. 24 across.
Whoop.
24 across.
Play the jingle.
And the jingle hath been played. System for naming things, and it is an anagram of 3 words. No, numeral, ETC, as in etc. System for naming things. And I do know what it is.
Go on.
It is nomenclature.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right.
Which
that is lovely.
Which is such an excellent word, because it makes you think
it's a lovely word, yeah.
It makes you think that all things were named by little people that dwell under trees, little gnomes, who sat down and classified our language quietly while we slept and organized it all.
I love that idea. And that's a lovely little aide-memoire for remembering the word. Just think of gnomes cuddling under their trees,
nomenclature,
compiling words.
Yeah, while smoking their clay pipes.
And that's really useful because it gives us lots to get our teeth into in the sort of bottom left.
So let's rock on 17 down, ending in L, 6 letters down, shelf over a fireplace. Ending in L.
That's a lintel.
I believe it's actually a mantle, because a lintel is over a
mantle,
door.
Of course. Yes, you're right. Sorry, silly me. As in peace. Yes. Okay, whip, camera, or coffee, 22 across, 7 letters ending in T.
Yeah.
Whip, camera, or coffee. No.
I think we might need some letters here.
We might. Let's have a little sort of scan around and see if we can get any low hangers, because we are now nearly halfway.
We
definitely need to get motoring.
Old-fashioned sweeper, Theo, 19 down, 5 letters ending in M. An old-fashioned sweeper.
Broom.
Oh, that would certainly work. Yeah, it doesn't seem so old-fashioned. We've used one today. Ooh, and your broom is definitely correct, Theo, because speaking to your summer vacation, 18 across is a resident of Tirana or Berat.
Oh, an Albanian.
An Albanian.
Did I talk about that on the last? I don't think I did I?
I don't think you did. I think we've talked about it.
Yeah, we can get into my Albanian jaunt at some point, but it was lovely. It was really interesting to see it. Scorchingly hot, it has to be said. It was about 38 degrees, but nevertheless, it was a really, really interesting place to visit.
Yeah,
and I would recommend it. Yeah, 8 down. This is another long one. 12 letters. EG.
I know.
Clue.
I saw that.
So, which means obviously example, for example. So
yeah. So EG is an example of this thing.
EG, example.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. That's quite a meta clue.
It could be like an acronym, or it could end in Asian, because it's A space N. So just so everyone knows, the fifth last letter is an A, the last letter is an N, and we have nothing else. Do we want to just maybe try a few across to see if we can get that? Yep. So a salesperson is 6 letters long. We have no letters. I have an idea. I don't know if it's right.
I think I've got 7 down, by the way.
Oh.
Which was our other long 12-letter one.
For everyone, that's vague. It is 12 letters long, 3rd letter N, 5th letter O, 7th letter M. Go for it, Theo. Oh, I got it too.
Yeah, it's non-committal.
Nice one.
Which has a double T.
And a double N.
Yeah.
Oh, nice one, Theo. I don't think I would have gotten that, but the fact that you said that you got it was like, okay, it's funny. It's all confident. It's like, okay, it's gettable. And then your mind shifts from frustrated, unable to get it mode to open, thinking you can get it mode.
So that means we've got all letters for our Middle Eastern suite.
Yes.
Which means that is now H blank A blank A.
So Hala does fit, but anyway, let's leave that, because I think that's binary. Yeah. We're not going to get it probably. It would just have to guess something.
Have to guess.
So back to our salesperson, 14 across, 6 letters. That could be a vendor, potentially.
Oh, that's good. Like it.
Yeah, let's just see if it could work. So high spot, ? 8 down. If it's vendor, the second letter would be O, and the 4th letter would be N, as in Nancy, and the last letter would be N, and it's 8 letters long. I don't think I described that very well, but anyway, hopefully people got the picture.
And it's high spot ?
Yeah.
Which implies it's not a literal high spot.
It's a little cheeky.
It is a little cheeky. So again, could it be no, I was going to say it could open with non again, but Can we get 22 across? Oh, this is our whip, camera, or coffee. I'm trying to think of any word that connects those three things.
I know.
Because often that's something like, it's something that a word that can follow all of those three words. Like a coffee press or a coffee machine or
Yeah, but often it would have a dash after the whip, camera, or coffee to indicate that it was going to the next word, but
oh man,
I know this is not looking good. So Desperate Dan or Mickey Mouse, maybe to get back to the beginning, ends in N and then has a sixth letter of E. Oh my gosh.
It's not, I mean, if we forget the cartoon thing, it's not like kind of protagonist or something in that nature,
Maybe.
But probably not, is it? I mean,
but they're both the face of their cartoon universe, right?
Eponymous? Eponymous.
That's true, eh? Well, what about signs a contract? 3 down, 4 letters. Signs a contract. Could that be pens?
Yes, good one.
Do you think that would work?
Yeah, I think so. Look, Rob, I think we've got 11 minutes left.
Oh, crap. Okay, what about
lots of clues to get?
What about a go-between, which is 2 down, 7 letters long?
I don't think it's pens because I think 9 across. Drawing one gets you nowhere.
Yes.
Is blank.
Oh, wow, Theo.
So I think
inks.
signs a contract must be inks, yeah.
Nice one, Theo. I was looking at that drawing one gets you nowhere, and I was getting nowhere. Yes, blank. Okay, so a go-between now has a third letter of A, and it's 7 letters long for a go-between.
And ends in N, if your vendor is correct.
Yeah. Types of go-betweens are like mediators, brokers, emissary.
Matchmaker, no.
Yeah.
Just a messenger.
That too. A go-between.
What's the old word for a herald?
Oh yeah.
Or someone in a medieval battle, but that doesn't fit. Oh, Rob. I think it's going to be one of those weeks.
Okay, so EG, just to get back to that one, now has a second letter of B, a fifth last letter of A, and a last letter of N, and the only word I can think that fits there would be obfuscation.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit.
No.
Almost fits.
It's a lovely, lovely idea.
I think Asian, I almost think has to go there. And that would make whip or camera or coffee, I space O, 3 spaces ending in, and then T.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if I can get this 20 across because we do have all the letters on it. It's only 4 letters. The clue is close together. Second letter H, fourth letter T, close together.
Yeah.
And it can't... well, I can think of a rude word that fits those
shut
spaces. I don't think that really means... Oh, close together, yes.
Oh, close, yes, of course.
Yeah, like you close something together, yes.
In fact, when you first said it, you did say close together, I believe. So you felt it.
So that is... Okay, well, at least we've got that one.
Yeah, at least we got that one. We can
we've got 9 minutes.
Door. Okay, 5 down. Agitated is a 8-letter word. Third letter L, agitated. Fifth letter T, second last letter E.
Yeah. I want to say nettled or something like that.
I've got it. All aflutter.
A flutter, Rob.
Yeah.
That's an excellent guess.
Yeah.
That really is good.
A flutter.
Okay, we're getting more and more letters all the time on this Desperate Dan or Mickey Mouse.
We are.
So we've now got, so it's 12 letters, fourth letter I, sixth letter E, eighth letter A, and the last letter of N. So it's something like animation.
Oh, yeah.
Which doesn't quite fit. But Asian as a finish does fit.
Okay. If that were the case, I would be the first letter of perfect or perfect. which would be I space E space L. Ideal.
Ideal. The plot thickens.
The plot
So
thickens.
it does end Asian.
It must do, yeah.
Or it could be Adian.
Or Aryan as well.
Or Aryan, yeah.
But I think we can agree it's ION for sure, and probably Asian.
Oh, this is so annoying. This is going to be a word that we've never
No, we'll know
come
it.
across. Or it's going to be ridiculously obvious, isn't it? Oh, cartoons and cartoonification doesn't quite work, does it?
No.
Edation.
Yeah, edation, ication, eration. Okay. We still don't have our go-between. Come on, let's... Okay, what about our whip or camera? I space O space 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 T.
This high spot is still elusive as well. Because you think of like a summit or a... What might you say? I was at the zenith? Doesn't fit.
Definitely zenith would be good though. But ends in N.
It's the wrong length and doesn't have the letters.
High spot.
This is tough this week, Guardian.
Yeah. I was thinking like a spot that's high on the body.
Oh, yeah.
But I can't think of anything.
So what can you have for a coffee? You can have a coffee, because it could be SPO something.
Yeah. But I think we thought it might end in Asian, that 2 down, the go between, 8 down, the EG.
Yeah, so therefore it would begin in I.
Not necessarily. I mean, it's, yeah.
No, not necessarily. But I think in all likelihood.
Well, the only thing I can think that fits for EG with that second letter B would be obliteration.
That's what's happening to us this week.
Yeah. What about a surge of emotion, Theo? 11 across 4 letters.
We've neglected surge of emotion.
We have neglected surge of emotion. Could this be the key that unlocks the crossword?
Could this be our unlikely master key?
Yeah.
What's a surge of emotion? Like a vent?
A wave?
A wave, yeah. A wave or event, I would say.
Yeah. A surge of emotion. Yeah.
If we got this go-between, that would really help us.
It would. Think about the wave as space B space W. Oh, dude. Abbreviation. Stupid.
I
wonder. So vendors got to
got that too late, but good get.
Vendors got to be right. So that means that our go-between ends in N, and our surge of emotion starts in R.
A roar? A
surge of emotion. God.
I just had a rush.
Rush. Yes, definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. We have to just go. So our go-between is space A space S space N.
So something sun.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. A go-between.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, whatever we do in the next 2 minutes and 30 seconds, we're definitely not going to get this Middle Eastern suite. So this is all...
HALLA for the Middle Eastern suite. I'm putting it in. So just... yeah, so...
What was that?
HALLA.
Challah.
Yeah, I think so. I know it's a type of bread.
Yeah.
HALLA. Let's just
take it. All right, challah.
Desperate Dan or Mickey Mouse for everybody is 3 letters, I, space E, space A, space ION. So we don't know what that is. Our go-between is space A, space S, space N. Our high spot is space O, space N, 3 spaces, and then another N. And our whip, camera, or coffee is I space O, 3 spaces, and T. We have nowhere near enough time to finish this. Take one and run with it, Theo. See if you can make any high or low of it.
Okay, I'm going to look at whip, camera, or coffee.
Okay.
Because that one has been annoying me the whole crossword. So I'm just going to zoom in on it for the last minute and a bit. Which one do you want?
I don't know. I'm looking at Desperate Dan or Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, it'd be satisfying to get that one. Okay. The camera, I. What could come between I and O?
Between I and O. A lot of consonants.
A lot. Pretty much any letter.
Pretty much. It's probably not Z, but you never know.
An M. I feel like an M.
Yeah.
Sorry, listeners, if you are of the pedantic persuasion, you're going to be hating this because you're going to be listening or possibly looking at it and just thinking, you flaming
bags.
Twats. Why can't you get this? Oh, God, what's high spot? What's that thing on a graph? Like the high spot is the, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the timer, Rob. We've absolutely flopped.
We have flopped. Okay. Do we want to, let's just take the camera one and just reveal it, shall we?
And build out from there.
Yeah.
All right.
Ready?
So the whip, camera, or coffee
is... instant.
It's instant. Obviously, it's instant. And
instant camera, instant coffee. What about instant whip, though? I don't understand that.
Yeah, the whip thing, I'm not with them on that. Yeah. I suppose that cream stuff you get in a can.
Oh, yeah.
That means broom was wrong, by the way.
Oh, it was.
So old-fashioned sweeper, B blank S blank M.
Wow.
Must be a...
bosom? Bosom?
What the hell?
Let's check it. Is a besom, B-E-S-O-M, apparently.
Well, never heard of that. So
no. Okay, so we're, you know what? Hey, let's check Hella. Wrong. Oh, at least it's H-A-L space A. Maybe it's an H there?
Oh, halva.
Halva. All right.
So I think I have heard of that, but only just about.
I'm starting to feel less bad, a little less bad.
Well, yeah, because I think, there's two words that we have barely heard before.
Didn't work. So 13 down, high spot, space O, space N, space A, space N.
You seeing anything?
Nothing, man.
No. Okay, let's review. Oh, for goodness sake, Rob.
Oh, a mountain.
It's mountain.
I think because of the question mark, we were trying to think of something really strange. There's mountain.
The spot thing is misleading there.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like a mountain isn't a high spot. It's a mass.
It's like they've put the question mark there because they know that clue is awful. Now, we're going to get go-between, and then we're going to save Mickey Mouse and Desperate Dan for last because I know that one is going to haunt me. Right, 2 down, go-between.
Oh, we should have had that.
Oh, liaison.
A liaison. Okay, so that's the first one I feel truly dumb about.
Yeah.
Okay, so last one, Desperate Dan or Mickey Mouse, is space L, space I, space E, space A, space I, space N.
And I still can't see it. Can you?
Oh, it's alliteration. D-D-M-M.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Yep.
We were looking at it too literally.
We were squeaking down the wrong mouse hole.
And we should have been looking at it literally.
Or chopping at the wrong tree. Or was it did Desperate Dan? No, who was the lumberjack? Was that Desperate Dan? It was like a really big and burly guy. I think it was more in the Beano universe. And he had like a big axe and he wore a red plaid shirt. And he was a sort of...
No, that sounds like Desperate Dan you're describing.
Is it Desperate Dan?
He wore a cowboy hat. That was his signature.
Did he? Okay.
He was like the central casting burly man.
Yes.
You know?
No, so sorry, not plaid shirt. It was a red kind of button up with a black
I think he was a sheriff. I think that's what he was.
He had a blue kerchief and a very bearded, large chin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at him
and
now.
He used to go around, beating people up, essentially, and eating cow pies, which was literally just a whole cow in pie form with its horns sticking out the top of it.
So he was sort of an Obelix type character.
Yeah, very Obelixian, actually. So
I don't know why I imagined him with an axe, sorry, but I think it's just the character lends itself to that. Sorry, you are annoyed about.
Well, I'm annoyed about alliteration because, of course, now you see it, it's obvious. Of course it is.
Yeah.
But it's because Desperate Dan and Mickey Mouse are both cartoon characters. If they, or rather comic strip characters
Yeah.
in one case, but it feels like they're connected in that way. So if they'd said
Sally Struthers.
Sally Struthers, exactly, or any Bob
Builder.
I now can't think of any other alliterative names. My son has an alliterative name, actually.
He does too.
Which was one of the reasons we chose it. I quite like an alliterative name. I think.
Yeah.
I think they sort of roll off the tongue.
They do.
But anyway, yeah. If they put something completely unconnected, we probably would have seen it. But obviously we didn't. So there we go. Well, look, we're 1-1 now in the series so far.
Yeah, I think we're playing to our average. That this was an episode of regression to mean, as it were.
Yes.
So
indeed.
There we go.
So, Rob, what's on your horizons for the coming week or so?
I'm going to say a whole lot of nothing, pretty much. Which suits me amazingly. Nothing in the sense of just spending time with the family, making suppers, dealing with school issues, throwing the odd disc or two. I did spend last weekend in Vermont. I went to the mecca of disc golf. So by a very sort of accidental route that we were not expecting to take.
When you said Vermont, I was thinking of that song Season of the Sticks, which is, I don't know if it is the Season of the Sticks. I mean, when is it not the Season of the Sticks? There's sticks at all times of year. But anyway, maybe that's a Vermont thing.
Beautiful part of the world. It is
beautiful part of the world.
Rural,
I'd love to go.
Gorgeous, green. It lives up to its name of the Green Mountain State.
Nice. Well, maybe next summer I'll get to pass through.
Yes. Theo and I may meet up in Maine next summer with our respective families if schedules allow, because we both independently had that plan. And while we were at this course on the Saturday, at the end of the day, my wife and I both bought a can of Fiddlehead, which is an excellent Vermont IPA, and sat out by the disc golf store after our round and drank our Fiddlehead. And then there was some people hanging around, and then they challenged my kids to a putting contest, and we got to chatting. Turns out they're from Maine. And they had just driven all the way from Maine for the weekend. Yeah, you were wondering where I was going with that, eh? What's the segue?
I did a bit.
Yeah. So they were from Maine. And I said, well, that's interesting because we're thinking of going to Maine next summer. Which courses should we play? And so they gave us a whole bunch of the ones that we've got to play in Maine. So anyway, got that in my back pocket.
There you go. Useful.
Yep. Useful information.
Cool. Well, yeah, not a huge amount coming up for me, apart from at the weekend, my sister's 40th. Which is a big moment for me because it was one thing me turning 40, but now my little sister is turning 40. That really does feel like, a chapter changing or the end of an era or whatever you want to call it.
It is interesting, because we both sit in the middle of our family. We're both middle children with an older.
That's why we feel the need to make podcasts.
Exactly. We need to be seen. What is it? What do they say about middle children? That they complain that they're getting 10% of the resources, but really they're getting 80.
Yeah, that's very good. Yes.
I'm not going to comment on that, but it was the same. Like my older sister went through 40 and my older sister's approaching 50 as I am slowly. And you don't really think about their passage through the milestone. It doesn't seem significant. You hit it. It's very personal. And then as you say, when your younger one hits it, it feels sort of concrete. Like this is really happening. We as a collectivity, as a tribe are aging. So it's funny that.
Which just hit me today because her birthday's tomorrow. And I just thought this is the last day one of sort of our generation is going to be in their 30s.
Yeah.
So this is a day of significance in some sense. Yeah. Old Father Time marching on, coming for all of us in the end.
Well, last note, I remember a great interview with one of my favorite musicians, Gord Downey, was interviewed by the now disgraced Gian Gameshi, which I won't go into that. But I think he was a bit younger than Downey, and Downey was in his 50s, and they were talking about their age. And at some point, Gord asked the interviewer, like, how old are you? And he said, like 40, mid 40s kind of thing. And he said, oh man, he's like, my condolences. I feel bad for you. I said, it gets a lot better, but I don't want to go through what you're going through now. So it was kind of an interesting observation that I think once you have done your mourning of the passage of time, there's a lot of fun to be had, but you have to go through. Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it, actually. I hope that is the case. I often look at people much older than myself who often do seem quite cheerful and happy with life. And I think, how can you be so cheerful, so close to death?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think maybe you do sort of learn to come to terms with it and even embrace it to the point where you can then just relax about it, because at this point of life, I think you are thinking about it probably in a more heightened way, even though hopefully it's that sort of end point is still a fair while off. I don't know. Maybe that's all complete nonsense. We will find out, Rob, in the passage of time when we're on series 95.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if we keep living long enough.
On our 60s. Yeah.
Have you heard of the concept of death escape velocity? It's this idea that the longer you live, the more chance you have of not dying, because the advances in anti-aging technology are going to move more quickly in terms of the years they can add to your life than the years you're losing behind you. It's a theory. I don't.
You see, I sort of go along on the whole anti-aging thing. Or the quest for eternal life. I'm of the view: do you want to be old forever?
No, that's right.
If you could lock your body at 25 or whatever, then sure, let's go for it. Yeah. Let's give this eternal life thing a go. But if I'm just going to sort of slow the aging process to the point where I'm just going to be really old and really tired for a very long time, I don't think that really sounds
asymptotically like 80 years old. You're just like slowly every year approaching sort of, what is that Zeno's paradox? You make half the way to 80 and then a quarter and then an eighth and then a 16th. You never quite reach 80, but you're just like constantly getting closer and closer.
Exactly. If it's that, I don't think I'm interested, frankly. So they better hurry up and crack it so that they can lock me down in my 40s rather than, they can cryogenically freeze me or whatever they're going to do. Yeah. Anyway, on that slightly surreal note, let's round it off.
Let us leave our listeners to their day's pursuits. Yeah, I think we're hitting a record time on this one. So thank you.
This has been a long one.
Thanks, everyone, for sticking with us. And thank you, Theo, for being here today to not solve the crossword with me. All right, you have been listening to Two Across, a podcast by Theo Bosanquet and Rob Cole. Original music by Enthusiast for our theme and little jingles. That's Enthusiasts. If you like what you've been listening to, consider liking and subscribing. Consider sharing it with your friends. Consider listening to the episodes on repeat so our stats get incredible and the algorithm cannot help but pay us attention and give us the love that we are due. And have yourself a good week. Goodbye.